And here I am, live again. What is this madness? What? Yeah, I decided I would come back and do another video. You can see my hair. This is the only part about my hair. It's getting long on the sides, but it's still kind of thin on the top. And I'm just going to have to deal with that as I get older. Let it bunch out. I'll have the old lady haircut where it'll come out like this, and then it'll be all thin wisp here on the top. I have my Blade Runner music going in the background. There's rain. There's ambient sounds. It's nice and relaxing. I have my shorts on with my drama. Not so drama, Lana, who's full of love and happiness. And I just decided I would come back on and do another video because I've been thinking about Plotober. What is Plotober? Well, Plotober is the month before NaNoWriMo. And do you know what NaNoWriMo is? Of course, most of you who are following me, who have watched my videos, know exactly what NaNoWriMo is. It's National Novel Writing Month. And that means that for 1 month, 30 days, you write a novel 50,000 words or less. And I've been giving some thought about what I want to do for my NaNoWriMo because I will do it again this year. I will do it again this year, and I will have fun doing it. Even though sometimes it feels like a slog to get through. Last year was when I actually met up with my writing group, and we were able to do NaNoWriMo, and things were fabulous. But I've been thinking about, okay, what do I want to do? And I have, sorry about that. I have open projects. Got the sounds in the background. I have open projects. I've got my current novel that I'm working on. I have an unfinished novel called Queen Street Station, which is down to the last part that needs to be written. And then I have an idea for a story that I've been wanting to write. And it's called Iceworm. And I'll give you a little background on Iceworm in a minute. But I'm thinking for NaNoWriMo, last year I worked on the sea level novel, and that was really what jump-started it. I jump-started part 2 and wrote 50-some thousand words and got me going again. So in the last year, I've added to that, but I've also written other stories. I've written other novels. I wrote the first part of Queen Street Station during that period where I actually took like a couple of months off and worked on Queen Street Station, which is a novel that comes out of my, and I don't know if it'll actually be a novel. If it is, it'll be a short novel, but it actually comes out of my Her Demonic Majesty universe. So it's a sequel of sorts. I just have to finish it. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to finish that novel during NaNoWriMo. That's going to be part 1 of NaNoWriMo, as I'm going to finish Queen Street Station. You know, try to do close to 2,000 words a day and finish her up. If I can do close to 2,000 words a day, I believe in the first week of November, I could actually have the novel finished. And then it's just a matter of going back over it and editing it. But I probably won't edit it. I'll probably start working on a second story, which I'm going to plot out during Plotober, the month of October, which is when you should be working on plotting out your stories. Forgive the diesel engine, it's just outside my window. One of the disadvantages of living right downtown on a busy street, even in a small town, I'm probably on one of the busiest streets there is, and it's constant traffic going back and forth. But one of the stories I want to write is called Iceworm. And it's a new story. It's one that I need to plot out. Like I said, October is when you should be doing all your plotting for Nanowrimo, and not, I'm going to pants this sucker starting November 1st, and we're just going to go from there. And then 2 days later, you're like, help, I'm lost. You're doing the Stitch in the middle of the woods. I'm lost. Project Iceworm, or it'll actually just be called Iceworm. And Iceworm has an interesting history behind it. It's actually based on a real thing. There was a project called Iceworm that was run back in the late 50s, early 60s. And believe it or not, the U.S. military felt that they could build thousands of miles of tunnels under the Greenland ice cap and have missiles under there. And they would be like missiles on trains that they could move to different locations around the entire island, so that the Russians would never have any idea where these missiles were. This is all true as hell, that they would have no idea where these missiles were at. And so, in order to experiment with this, the United States built 2 bases as test beds up on the Greenland ice cap, where they dug down into the ice and everything was underground. They had these underground, under the ice tunnels, and they had prefabricated huts and stuff in there. One place was called Camp Century, and another place was called Camp Fist Clench. Get off my ice cap, you kids. Seriously, it was called Camp Fist Clench. And I could go back and take a look at that, but it's too hilarious. And the thing that was most notorious about Camp Century wasn't the fact that there was a missile there. They didn't have any missiles there. They were just exploring whether it was possible to build these tunnels under the ice shelf so that they could put missiles in there. But Camp Century had a small working nuclear reactor supplying power throughout the entire camp. That was how they got their camp. That was how they got their energy. They didn't rely on oil and other stuff being flown in or trucked in. They actually could truck it in. They had a highway. Seriously, they had a highway built that they could drive on with these huge Land Rovers and bring supplies. And they brought out a nuclear reactor. And it ran until, I want to say it was like 1963, 64. I'm going to have to go back and take a look at that. That's what Plotober is for. And they had to decommission it because they found out the ice shifts so much that it just wasn't worth trying to keep underground tunnels open. You would open them up, and then within like 6 months, they'd start deforming. And it was just a race against time to try to keep these tunnel passageways open. And they finally decided it would be so man-heavy intensive to have people like going around constantly making certain these tunnels weren't collapsing, that they just gave up on the entire plan. which is really surprising because nowadays they probably would go ahead and do it. But they decommissioned the reactor and they took it out of Camp Century. Unfortunately, they left all the other crap behind. And now that the ice cap in Greenland is warming up, parts of Camp Century and parts of Camp Fisklench are actually starting to see the light of day. And there are a lot of toxic materials up there. Also, this was done without the knowledge of the Danes. A lot of this was done without the knowledge of the country of Denmark, which actually administers, as they say, the island of Greenland. So Greenland's been arguing for a while over who's going to clean this crap up. And, the U.S. is basically going, it's not my problem. Yeah, but you put a nuclear reactor out here. Not my problem. It's because, we have the bully pulpit. We can be the bully. And, what's Denmark going to do to us? Launch a nuclear attack? No. They're going to come at us with their subs and their army? No. They're not going to do anything to us. So once again, we get to play, the world's bully and say, oh, yeah, we contaminated this entire area with toxic material, but it's not our problem. So the story that I'm thinking of writing, Iceworm, would actually take place around the time of near the end of the decommissioning of the reactor, when something bad happens. And what could something bad be? Well, I kind of conceive this as a horror novel. Okay, so figure out what something bad could be. And that's why I've got to plot this thing out, because I want it to have that horrifying element in there. I want it to really be good, and I want it to be at least 45,000 to 50,000 words long, which means if I can write, I would need to write nearly the entire story before the end of NaNoWriMo. I mean, I've got to put in 50,000 words no matter what. And if I get to the end of NaNoWriMo and I say, oh, yeah, I did it. Yay, me. I may do Iceworm first to see if I actually do it, and then do Queen Street Station. And then I'd have two novels that are ready to go. With revisions, of course, editing, of course. But I was explaining one part of it, and the thing that strikes me is Iceworm would probably be the first novel I've ever written, where the majority, if not all, of the main characters are going to be male. Oops. How's that happening? Well, it's happening because it's taking place in the 1960s. And it's under the aegis of the United States military to handle decommissioning this reactor. And realistically speaking, there weren't a lot of women in any sort of position during these exercises, Now, were there women at Camp Century who were handling things like, dictation and working in the cafeteria and stuff like that? I don't know. Maybe. Probably not. But I mean, if I had to figure out how to get a woman into this story, I know how to do it, because it came to me while I was just going to the bathroom about 20 minutes ago. Yes, thoughts and things come to me like that. So I'll have 2 projects that I'm going to work on, which means through October, once I'm done with my collaboration, I'm probably not going to do another collaboration. I'm probably just going to say, look, I'm getting ready for Nanowrimo and I don't want to be distracted by having to do a 3rd collaboration. I've already done 2. Whereas the other group, I found out the other day that the other group that was supposed to be writing their collaboration hasn't written 1 word. So my writer and I are the only ones who actually wrote anything for the collaboration. And I'm just going to say, look, I'm going to be getting ready for October for NaNoWriMo. I'm not going to work on another collaboration. I'm just going to work on plotting, and I'm going to work on getting everything set up. And that is that. And it's what I want to do. So there you have it. You're starting to hear about my plans. I haven't written a horror story in quite some time. One of the first stories I ever wrote was a horror story, and it wasn't a very good horror story, but surprisingly, my first wife loved it. And she told me I should actually write more stories like that, and I was kind of incensed. She told me once that was the best story I ever wrote. And I was kind of incensed because by that point I'd been writing for about 5 or 6 years. And I was like, gee, thanks. The very first thing I crank out is the best story I've ever written, and I've done nothing but produce crap since then. And she more or less came back at me and said, yeah, I don't like any of the crap you're writing now. So one of 100 other reasons why she's still considered the ex. Yeah, that was not good on her behalf to call me out like that. It really made me feel good. Oh yeah, your first story you ever wrote, that's the best thing you've ever written. Been writing for 5 years. Yeah, well, everything else is crap. I don't like it. So I will be using Scrapple to actually plot everything out and come up with characters, and then I'll put it into Scrivener, and I will be ready to rock and roll when November 1st comes on. And maybe I'll even do something stupid like stay up until midnight and write 500 words. Like I used to do. I actually used to do that. The first few years I did NaNoWriMo, I would stay up until midnight and I would write 500 words. And the reason you write 500 words is when you come back later to write in the evening, you only got about 1,100 words to write and you're done. So it's not that big of a deal. Oh, the days and night of wanton abandonment. So there you go. I'm going to start on a new story. And if I've got time, I'm going to finish an old story. It's not really that old. I actually started on it this year. I just haven't finished it. Let's see if I can actually tell you where I'm at on it. Probably not. Let me see. Oh, yeah, there it is. Where's... Yeah, I've got 1 chapter to finish and 3 others to write scenes for which one of the chapters, the very last one, only has 2 scenes. and each chapter has 3 scenes in it. So I need to finish up this last chapter and then go from there. And right now, I have 21,092 words out of 50 invested in this. It's probably going to go about 40,000 words by the time I'm all said and done with it. And it's like I said, I will finish it up if I have time during NaNoWriMo. There you go. So, new project coming. And what will I do with that project? Why, if it's novel length, I'll sell it. I'll make a cover for it and I'll put it up on Amazon, and it'll be there for people to sell. My NaNoWriMo novel. I would actually like to have that finished by the end of December so I could publish it this year or publish it early January. And then Queen Street Station, I intend on doing the same thing with it. I intend on getting a cover for it and going from there. So, Plotober. I got my work cut out for me. I'm going to be real busy. Between now and the end of November, there's going to be a lot of writing on top of everything else, which is a good thing that I am retired, because I could spend all my time writing. This is going to be a good thing. Now, there you go. I thought I would come back in and drop this little tidbit and see what you had to think. And now you know. There we are. Okay. Seconds out. Peace. Have a good night. Sleep well, and I will see you soon. Bye.